Your host this evening. Tonight we have a very special presentation for you on life settlements. Marilyn Singer will be our guest this evening. Marilyn's been working her no business for almost 20 years, and she now focuses her efforts mainly on life settlements. Marilyn is often regarded as one of the most knowledgeable experts in the field of life settlements. We're very honored to have her here with us this evening. So let's bring her in and get started. How are you doing, Marilyn?
I'm doing just great. It's great to be here with you.
Good. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I love talking about life settlements, Leland, because it's so simple to do, and the paperwork is a minimum for the broker. And those are always pretty good hot buttons. And there's a few other reasons I like it a lot. So with your permission, I think I'll just dive right into it. I know time is of the essence here.
Okay, sounds
life
good.
settlements. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So bear with me a minute. I've got a stuck computer screen, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Well, I don't have tech support. Bear with me, and my computer screen seems to.
Are you not able to advance the to the next
Yeah, I
screen?
could, but yeah, I'm going to do it manually for some reason.
Okay.
My computer doesn't like me. That happens sometimes.
Okay.
So what I want to talk about is especially I want to direct special comments to new brokers. I do want to give you all the background and the basics about life settlements so there isn't any confusion. And then I'd like to walk all of you through the step-by-step process so that you understand the entire process and how it works. So what is a life settlement? Some of you may have heard things about it, but basically what it is selling the death benefits of a life insurance policy on the secondary market. So it's not ruled by SEC. It's on a secondary market, in personal people buying in some cases, but also investors that are set up, funding sources that are set up to do this exact kind of business. And they're set up very well with all the research, and they do the due diligence, which I love. So somebody who needs or wants to sell the death benefits of their policy, and there's myriad reasons, we'll talk about those, has the opportunity now to sell it on the secondary market. So as you may know, some people can turn in or surrender their policy, and some policies the insurance company will give them money for. And usually the sales price is greater than the surrender value. That's why those insurance companies have those great big buildings with their names on top, because they know how to make money. So what we're providing is a service to people who would need or want to sell their policy at greater than the surrender value. I particularly want to talk for a second to new brokers because, as Leland mentioned, we've been doing note business for almost 20 years, and we work with a lot of new brokers. And there are different disciplines with which we work. This has to be one of the most fun and one of my favorites. But for new brokers, one of the things we discovered is along the way, when deals break down and don't close with new brokers, where they break down is they don't have the confidence in their own analysis of the deal, whether it's real estate or any of the other myriad delinquent debt or any of the other myriad opportunities in the cash flow industry, and they break down because they're nervous about their own analysis, and so they let the deal go. They don't act quickly enough. So the reason life settlements are perfect, especially for new brokers, is that the funders, the people that purchase these policies, do the analysis. They have a whole staff of people that do nothing but the medical analysis. And so you'll understand what I'm talking about. They're going to be looking at the medical history of the person who's insured, because if they're buying the death benefit, they need to have an idea how long the insured person is going to be alive. Nothing creepy about it. It's just a simple analysis of their medical condition. At the same time, their financial experts look at what the premium prices are on these policies and how much they're going to be having to pay over this estimated amount of time until the policy matures, or in other words, the person passes. So they do the analysis, the medical analysis and the financial analysis. Brokers have no exposure. You're not having to trust your own analysis, hoping that it's right, particularly if you're new to the cash flow business. And you have no exposure, financial exposure. There's nothing for you to purchase or put money down on up front. All you do is fill out a few simple forms and submit the deal. Now, you can submit to your own stable of investors if you have those. Most brokers starting out don't have their stable of investors yet, and that's why they work with master brokers like us. It's one of the reasons they work with us, because we've been doing this for so long. And they fill out the forms, and we clean up if there's things that need to be cleaned up in the forms, and then we submit them to those investors. There are about 40 industrial investors that we work with across the United States. And we submit those forms then to those investors that we feel meet the criteria, that this policy meets the criteria they're seeking. So they analyze it, and then the bidding process starts. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So how big is this life settlement industry? Is there enough money in there to go around? Hold on to your socks, because it's one of the fastest growing and biggest in the cash flow industry. First of all, it's only been around fewer than 20 years. Just about 20 years ago, people realized that a life insurance policy was actually an asset and could be treated as such, could be traded or sold as such, and should be considered when doing estate planning. So that was not the case before. The senior market in 2009 was estimated to hold $5 trillion of in-force life insurance policy. $5 trillion. Let that number sink in. And an estimated 88% of policies never result in a death benefit. In other words, about 12% of the policies are paid off with a death benefit when somebody passes. People let them lapse. They can't afford the premium maybe. They surrender it for the surrender value, because they don't realize they can actually sell it like any other asset on the secondary market. So $5 trillion, 88%, I'm thinking there's enough to go around there. So why in the world would somebody sell their policy? If they've got $1 million policy, why would they sell it for less than the face value? Well, for many people, it's too expensive to maintain. The premiums on some of those policies are pretty hefty. If they let it last, there's little or no benefit. So now that people are beginning to learn they can sell it, the settlement amount is greater than a cash surrender value, and in many cases, the day-to-day expenses of these people are not being met. They need cash. So perhaps they've had a decline in health, which has increased their medical expenses. Well, that decline in health will also increase the value of the policy. For many people, health and long-term care is now a financial problem, as you, I'm sure, heard about for a number of years in this country. And people are afraid of leaving their family burdened with medical expenses and debt. This is an asset they can turn into cash and pay off those debts, those medical expenses, pay for their long-term care, etc. Also, new tax laws and estate changes make a lot of current life insurance coverage excessive. It's just more than they need. Living in assisted care facilities, in some cases, has exhausted the insured person's ability to pay for that residential care, and they need funding for more suitable financial products. They don't need the amount of coverage they used to carry. Probably their children were young, their family was young, and they needed coverage in case something happened to them so that their family would be taken care of. But now maybe the kids are grown and gone, maybe the spouse is gone too. Their world has gotten a lot smaller, and they don't need all that coverage, and they can't afford the premium. So there are a lot of people, a lot of people who really need the money for various reasons, as you can see. And the various reasons are important for you to put in your head, because one of the most important things I'm going to ask you if you bring me a policy is, what is the motivation of the insured person to sell? What is the motivation? Do they need money for medical expenses? Do they want to take a trip with their family? Do they want to see their heirs enjoy money now rather than waiting until they're gone? Whatever the reason is, it's key to the success and how you spend your time to find out what their motivation is. Because otherwise, they're tire kickers. If you say to somebody, you're talking to somebody at a cocktail party or a seminar, and they say, what do you do? And you say, well, I purchase life insurance policies from people that no longer need or want the policy that they have. And they say, oh, really? Well, I have a policy for $1 million. What could you get me for it? And they're not motivated. There's no motivation. And the way you find that out is, well, what would you use the money for? And find out. Talk with them and find out what their motivation is. Because otherwise, you'll go back to them and say, gee, I could get you $400,000 for that policy, or $500,000. Now, don't quote these numbers. I'm just making up numbers. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, it's worth $1 million, so that's nice to know. You don't want to waste your time with that. You don't want to waste my time or any other master broker you deal with, and you definitely don't want to waste the time of the funding sources. They will waste their time with you once or twice, and if you continue to do that, they just won't bother getting back to you. So you're going to look for motivation. That's really key. So who are the ideal candidates? Well, ideal is 70 years old with a minimum face value policy of $500,000. You'd be surprised how many of them there are out there. Now, does that mean don't do anything less? No. Worth asking, and by that I mean worth asking me or whomever you're dealing with. 65 years old with a minimum face value policy of $250,000. That's about minimum. You probably are not going to want to spend time on something much less. So yeah, I'd ask, and we'll find out what his motivation is or what her health is. So yeah, that's worth asking. And maybe if there's somebody 60 years old or so and in poor health with a minimum face value of the $250,000, yeah, it might work. Might work. So on those that are on the fence and you're not sure about, always ask. Until you've worked the business enough to get a good feel for it yourself, I still ask about policies. I'll ask the funders about policies if I'm not sure. I think, gee, that's on the fence. You know, maybe somebody wants a policy in Illinois right now or wherever. So, yeah, always ask. Doesn't hurt to ask. A number of people have asked me over the years, do they need a special license to broker life insurance policies? And the answer is no, you don't need a special license. And if you were to license yourself, each of the states has their own laws and regulations, and they're all trying to play catch-up and figure out what kind of regulations or rules they need to make about this crazy thing called life settlements. And so if you were going to try to license yourself, you'd be getting 50 different licenses, one for every state, because you're going to, it's not where you live, it's where the policy is written. So to make it easy, the answer is no. You can operate under the license of the funder or the master broker. So you do not need to do that. In some cases, your commission will be called a marketing fee, if that's necessary, to comply with whatever the rules of that state are. But that shouldn't concern you at all. You don't need a license, so don't spend time or energy on that, or money. That's one of the beauties of a life settlement, is you don't have to spend any money. So is there a program for somebody who needs some kind of life insurance policy? And this may come up in your conversations. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on it because it isn't where the big money is. But other than selling the policy outright for cash, the other option is called the 1035 exchange, where they sell the policy essentially, and part of the money is used to pay off a smaller, more appropriate policy for their current position in life. And then you're commissioned on the remainder. So as you can see, your commission would be smaller. So what I really want you to go for is the trophy fish, somebody who's ready to just bag out of their policy altogether. So is it complicated? For the funder and the paperwork they have to do, yeah, probably pretty complicated. For you and for us, not at all. So your task, if you want to work in this field, is identify the insured person, the policy, and you're going to ask them motivation. Write that in great big letters if you're taking notes, because I'm going to ask that of you very first thing, and any other master broker would ask the same thing. So you identify the insured person in the policy. You're going to find out how big is the policy, obviously, what state was it written in, and make sure that it has been in place for 2 years and a day minimum. It has to be in place for 2 years and a day. So that's it. You just find out that basic information. Get the HIPAA form signed. The HIPAA form gives the investors permission to look at the medical records of the insured, which, as I mentioned way earlier, is an important factor in their figuring out how much they're willing to pay. Usually what works best is to, if you're talking face-to-face with this person, take the HIPAA form over and get them to sign it. The other thing that you need to do is to help contact the insurance company. And again, if you sit with the person, and a lot of times they're going to be elderly, so they're going to appreciate the help. They need to call their insurance company and request current illustrations. We can do that, and the investors can do that. However, the insurance company is not real fast to respond to us or the investors as they are to the insured person, because that's their client. When the insured person calls, they usually fax over current illustrations immediately, and that's just it's a listing from the insurance company showing what premiums are paid and what the value of the policy is and all that. It's just it's called illustrations, and we need that. And then you submit it. You submit it to a master broker, or as I said, if you have your stable of funders already in place, you can start submitting it to them, to those that you know have an interest in that kind of a policy. The procedure, if there's no issues, takes about 30 to 60 days after you've submitted the form. And the reason it takes 30 to 60 days is we submit it, and they get back to us quickly with the first bid. But it's a bidding process, and we like to go about 3 rounds with those people that are interested, and are offering. And one of my favorite examples, one of the most dramatic examples I have, is a deal we worked. A woman was 84 years old, very sick, on a morphine pump, and her policy was an $800,000 policy. And the first offer we got was $36,000, which I laughed at. And after we went 3 rounds with all the investors, and there were a lot of them that were interested, the final offer was $400,000. So that's the kind of difference that it makes to take the time and go several rounds. An inexperienced broker will take sometimes the first or second offer, which is crazy. So it's important that you note that's what we're doing during those 30 to 60 days, so that you can tell the insured person, because they're sitting there waiting, expecting perhaps, if you don't tell them, that you're going to come back in a day or two with an offer. So to help them be patient, you need to let them know that we're bidding this up as high as we can get it. And when we have nobody else bidding, we'll bring that offer to you. And when I say we'll bring that offer to you, by the way, let me just interject that some brokers are not comfortable submitting an offer and walking that through with the new client. That's fine. Others are perfectly comfortable. What we do with brokers when we're doing a master brokering for them is we'll keep you as much in the loop as you want. We can do third-party call-ins so that you're part of phone conversations, or if you're not comfortable with that and don't want to do that, that's fine too. We'll do whatever it is that will make it work for you. But also our job is to get the deal closed for you so that you get some money in your pocket, because I know you're not doing this for fun, although it is fun. So as I said, we send it out to the brokers that we know will be, the investors that we know will be interested in that, and we get the highest bid we can, and then you probably want to know what commissions are paid. The standard rule of thumb is 3% of the face value of the policy. In other words, in the case I mentioned to you, the $800,000 policy, $24,000 would be the 3% of the face value, or 10% of what is funded, and that would be if $400,000 was funded, then $40,000 is the 10% of what is funded, whichever is smaller. So in this case, the commission would be $24,000. So why should I use a master broker, you may ask? Well, we use, with our new brokers, we use our team of funders to get the deal purchased. But that is not required. You can develop your own stable. What a lot of people do is they let us do 1 or 2 with them. They bring it to us, and we'll do it, and they can be as involved as they want, so they get some money in their pocket and some experience under their belt. And then they, as they're doing that, they begin to build their own team of funders, because we share whatever funder, obviously, we end up using. They're going to know who it is. And so you'll know, by the way, the funders send 2 checks. From the funder's perspective and from our perspective, it's a transparent transaction. The insured person will get a check, and we get a check. So it's 2 separate checks. The insured person does not get the entire amount that is originally offered. We back our commission out. In other words, in the case of the $800,000 policy, we would back out $24,000 out of the $400,000 that's funded. So we would say, we have an offer for you. You will have in your hand, you will get in your hand $376,000. The check for the commission is sent separately. So it's transparent to all of us, and it isn't to the insured person, because if the entire check it would put you in a very awkward position if the entire check went to the insured person, and then you're sitting there saying, well, could I have my commission of $24,000? And they're like, no, I don't think so. I need this money. So, I mean, that would just be awkward. So just so you'll know, that's the standard procedure, and we let the funder know what the commission is. So we have, just so you'll know what our credentials are, we've been in the life settlement master broker business for over 15 years, actually almost 20. We wrote the training system manual for dealing with life settlement. We've spoken all across the country. We've led seminars on it. We have a stable of funding sources that we trust and use. And we are known as industry experts, quite frankly, and we pride ourselves on operating with integrity with all of our junior brokers. So the training system manual that we put together, so you'll know, contains also online access and hard copies of the applicable forms. You know, you've got to have your HIPAA, and there's a basic form where it's a one-page, very simple form that you fill out with the insurer's name and age and basic thumbnail sketch of their health, how much the policy is, what state it was written in, and what the date of it was in. And then, of course, you've got the illustrations that he's going to get sent to him right away, and the HIPAA, which allows the funding sources then to delve deeper into the medical situation. And there's also marketing materials in there. There's copy for a brochure if you like to use that sort of thing. The other beauty of this day and age and doing something like life settlements is you can print a brochure or two yourself if you need it. Print them as you need them, and you can use the internet to market yourself. It's free. So the training system contains an overview and background of the industry and today's life settlement industry, options to offer your clients, again, parameters of the ideal client, and the step-by-step process with examples, real examples. There's the related worksheet. There's a PowerPoint presentation in there if you find it more comfortable to use something that's already put together. There's, of course, the preliminary application, the marketing brochure, and some document samples. And there's some articles in there that we also find have been useful to people. So, Leland, I wonder if you have had any questions submitted by listeners?
Yes, we have. We've had several, actually. Let's see. We have a little bit of time. Will it be okay if we can ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. Jeff wanted to know what's the best way to find life settlements, or do you cover that in your training system?
We do, but I'll tell you the best way to find policies is talk to people. Talk to people. You know, practice your little 15-second elevator speech. So when you're standing next to somebody in a line or at the grocery store or at the, hi, how are you? What do you do? And when they say, what do you do, be ready to say, I purchase. Or if you're more comfortable saying that initially, my colleagues and I purchase, because we are now colleagues, my colleagues and I purchase life insurance policies that the insured no longer wants or needs or can afford. And we purchase them for cash at greater than surrender value. And then see what they ask you. Just talk to people. You can also do online, teases, marketing yourself a little bit. You can talk to estate planners. They go into a little bit more detail in the materials about people with whom you might want to have a conversation, but we found the most policies by just talking to people because it's everyday people that have these policies. The other thing that you probably could figure out is that some of these people are elderly and their children have started making decisions for them, so don't think you have to just find older people. Many people are making, many people in their 40s, 50s, 60s are making financial decisions for their parents now. So talk to any and everybody. If it looks like a grown-up, talk to them. Let them know what you do. And you can even, I mean, depending on how aggressive you feel on that day, you can even say, do you know anybody that might have a life insurance policy that I could help them get cash for?
Sounds good. Okay. Here's a few more. Susan wanted to know, how do the investors calculate the value they're willing to pay for the policy?
Well, they evaluate the size of the premium payment. So they evaluate the value of the policy itself. Then they evaluate the life expectancy, or LE. That's a term that you will hear, LE, the life expectancy of the insured person. Somebody said to me at one time, gosh, that's kind of creepy. I've actually been a funding source for policies over the years, and it wasn't creepy to me when the person explained to me what they wanted it for. One was a cancer patient who wanted to pay off her medical bills. She was a mother with children, pay off her medical bills and take her young children and husband on a wonderful Disney World trip, so they'd have a wonderful memory of that. And they didn't have the cash to do it. So that was a big eye-opener to me. Another one of the policies that I purchased was the AIDS epidemic was very big, and the insured person had AIDS, and they had come up already with protease inhibitors to help, you know, the cocktails that help AIDS patients, HIV positive people live longer, improve their life and save lives. And he needed the money. He couldn't afford the money to pay for the medication. It was expensive. And selling his life insurance policy, he was able to live for, I guess, a number more years that he would not probably have made it. So understanding that people have needs made it feel a lot better to me. So if you have concern about that, you need to understand that in doing this, you really are helping people.
Okay, Marilyn, we are getting a ton of questions, but I know we need to wrap it up here in just a moment. So how about I throw one more out there for you, and then anyone that doesn't have their question answered, maybe they can email you.
Yeah.
Can you give us your email address?
I will. But you won't share it with anyone, right?
No, no one. Never will.
Okay, my email is M, like in Mary, P, like Peter, Singer, S-I-N-G-E-R, M-P Singer, @roadrunner.com.
All right, and that is for anybody that has questions that are not being answered right now. You can email Marilyn anytime, and she'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, Marilyn, last one here, and then we'll let you go.
Okay.
For your time this evening. Okay, Terrence, he wanted a little bit more clarification on how the commissions are calculated, and he was wondering if there's an average commission amount that you could say that brokers that work with you make.
Okay, in terms of, in terms of an average, it depends on the size of the policy. The bigger the policy, the more money you make. And one of the reasons they don't it's very hard to sell a policy under $250,000 because if you do the math, the commission starts to get small, and the profit also for the insurance company, the funding source is also smaller, and it requires the same amount of paperwork and effort as a $1 million policy. So there are plenty of gigantic policies out there. So don't be reluctant to say, don't get enamored with a little policy because you think it'll close. The bigger policy, you're after trophy fish. Minnows will steal your bait. You're after the trophy fish, and they're just as easy to find. The the other thing I want to go over again, it's a rule of thumb, but commissions, as in any other cash flow instrument, commissions are negotiable. The rule of thumb is what I talked about earlier. Either 10% of what is funded, what is paid, the total amount of what is paid, or 3% of the face value of the policy. So that's a rule of thumb, but you know, if somebody needed $2,000 more than they were going to net on the deal, and that to meet whatever, maybe paying off a mortgage, whatever it is, would I drop $2,000 if the commission's big enough to make the deal work? Of course I would. Of course I would. Better commission minus $2,000 than no commission at all. So, yeah, but that is the rule of thumb. And Leland, I know you mentioned earlier to me that you've had some inquiries from people interested in getting the training system. Do you want to tell our listeners how they can do that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. All right. Marilyn's been kind enough to offer a discount for our members for her great training system on life settlements. And this special offer of $100 will be available through this Sunday. Everybody can get it from by logging into one of our member sites. And also, we will be sending out emails with links in it to order if anybody's interested. It is a great program, and life settlements are a great niche to work. So if you're looking to add something to your note business, this is something I highly recommend.
Leland, I think we're also going to offer free shipping this
Oh,
week.
yes, that's what you said, free shipping. And we even have an option for those of you that might be interested in the website. You'll see that there's an add-on option if you like a website in combination with the manual. So that'll be available through this Sunday. So we'll have that out there in emails for you, and it'll be on our member site. And take a look at it, and I think everyone will see the value of it and the potential in it. Well, Marilyn, do you have anything else?
I kind of covers it, I think.
Right.
I will look forward to hopefully working with some of our listeners on some policies, because they're all over the place.
That's what the name of the game is, making the money, doing the notes, or the business.
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn, one more time, can you give out your email address for anyone that might have a question that we didn't, or on something that we didn't cover? And there were some questions that we just couldn't get to, so I do apologize for that. But you can email Marilyn. So once again,
it's mpsinger@roadrunner.com. mpsinger, right, like Mary Peter Singer. mpsinger@roadrunner.com. With one caveat: please don't call me and ask me to train you on the telephone. That's what our training system is for.
All right. And I'm pretty knowledgeable about life settlements as well, so if anybody has questions, I might be able to answer them as well. So you can always contact me as well. All right, Marilyn. Excellent. Well, it's been a long time coming. I knew you had to cancel last time. We were so glad that we could get together tonight. Excellent presentation, and we look forward to bringing some business. Thanks. Great. I look forward to it. It's my pleasure. All right. Well, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone for joining in. Good night. Good night.